So yeah, this is my airplane. And you are probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. To understand what happened, let's rewind a little bit to a few months ago. For most of this year, I have been chasing an ambitious question. Can artificial intelligence help design the ultimate efficient flying wing? The result was the NX2, a 3D printed high aspect ratio flying wing optimized using aerodynamic simulations and an algorithm that mimics evolution. I built it, flight tested it, and proved that it could actually fly really well. To optimize the propulsion system, I built a custom thrust bench to measure real motor propeller efficiency, testing multiple combinations to find the best candidates for long endurance flight. Then I took all the aerodynamics data and propulsion results and gave it to an AI with one simple question: what is the ultimate range of this aircraft? And the answer was surprising. The NX2 might be capable of flying up to 200 kilometers. But a prediction is not enough. So in this video we're gonna close the loop. We'll take the best propulsion configuration from the thrust bench, test them in real flight using autonomous mission and advanced telemetry logging, and find out how efficient the NX2 really is. So stay tuned, because the results might not be what you expected. To compare each motor and propeller configuration properly, I need a flight test that is accurate, repeatable, and as controlled as possible. So the idea is simple. Every setup on the NX2 will fly the same autonomous loiter mission, following circles at 100 meters altitude and with a 200 meter radius. The autopilot will gradually reduce the target airspeed from 16 meters per second down to 10 meters per second, flying each speed for 120 seconds and recording how much energy the aircraft uses at each point. You may be wondering why I selected this particular speed range. Let's pause for a moment, because this is actually the core of the entire test. So the real goal here is to push the endurance of the NX2 to the very limit. And that means finding the exact speed where the aircraft, the motor and the propeller work together to use the least amount of energy to stay in the air. When designing an aircraft, one of the key decisions is the target airspeed. And for the NX2, I used an AI-guided MDO optimization process to search for the wind geometry that will be most efficient around a cruise speed of 12 meters per second. And that number matters a lot, because for a given weight and wind area, flying at 12 meters per second means the wing must operate at a certain lift coefficient. That defines the angle of attack, the induced drag, and where the aircraft sits on its lift-to-drag curve. If the aircraft flies too fast, parasitic drag increases and efficiency drops. And if it flies too slow, the lift coefficient and angle of attack increase, induced drag becomes higher and efficiency drops again. So somewhere around this region, there should be a sweet spot where the NX2 produces the most lift for the least drag. But the airframe is only half of the story. The propeller also has its own efficiency point, which depends on the advance ratio, basically the relationship between forward speed and propeller rotation speed. As you can see, designing an aircraft to be efficient at one specific speed is not trivial. The wing, motor and propeller all need to work together, and every simulation or bench test that I have performed has its own uncertainties. So even with strong candidates, the final answer has to come from real flight. By sweeping from 16 down to 10 meters per second, I can cover the NX2 expected efficiency region and find the true optimum. Not in theory, not on the bench, but in the sky. So enough with the theory, it's time to take the NX2 back to the field. Over the last few months, I kept going back to the flying field, trying to collect as much real flight data as possible. And honestly, it wasn't always easy, because some launches were clean. But some were definitely not. took me a while to realize what was happening, but after inspecting the logs, one thing became clear. The autopilot was commanding full left elevation down, but the wing was not really responding. The aircraft was asking for control authority that simply wasn't there. So, after replacing the weak servo, checking the elements again and making sure both sides were moving correctly, the NX2 finally started to respond the way it was supposed to. Once the aircraft was safely in the air, I switched the flight mode to auto and the NX2 started the commanded loiter mission by itself. From the ground, it looks almost simple, just a flying wing going around in circles, but it still blows my mind that this level of autonomous flight is now possible with affordable flight controllers. Yeah, again into the rocks. Anyway, I kept testing, collecting an insane amount of data, and why not pushing the limits of the NX2 even farther. But when you push too far, sometimes you find the limit the hard way. This is called a flat spin, and is one of the worst situations in aviation. The aircraft is falling almost flat, rotating around itself with very little airflow over the control surfaces. The elevons lose all the authority, so the aircraft is no longer really flying in a controlled way. If it happens too close to the ground, it basically means you have no time to recover. But why did this happen? During autonomous mission, I was trying to find the optimum speed for endurance, but there is another speed that is even more important. The stall speed. As the aircraft flies slower, the wing needs a higher angle of attack to keep producing enough lift. But if the angle of attack becomes too high, the airflow separates from the wing, lift suddenly drops, and the aircraft stalls. And if one side of the wing stalls before the other, the aircraft can roll, yaw, and enter an uncontrollable spin really quickly. So, in many ways, the maximum lift coefficient, or CLmax, is one of the holy grails of aerodynamics. It defines the maximum lift a wing can generate before it stalls, and it has a huge impact on stall speed, handling, and safety. But it is also extremely difficult to predict accurately with CFD. That is the reason why I had to take the NX2 to the edge on purpose, to find the real limit, not the simulated one. If we look at the real CFD results from the NX2, the lift coefficient keeps increasing with angle of attack, but the curve starts to flatten around 15 to 18 degrees. That means the wing is getting close to its maximum lift coefficient. But from the flight logs and footage, the stalls seem to happen at around 30 km per hour. So we can use the real stall speed and solve the lift equation for the maximum lift coefficient. The CFD estimation was not awful, but it was clearly overestimating the maximum. Anyway, this kind of experimental validation is crucial in aerodynamics, and it is one of the reasons why CFD is unlikely to fully replace wind tunnel testing anytime soon. So, until I get my hands on a proper wind tunnel, real flight testing and occasional crash is my only option. The good news is that most of the time the aircraft survived surprisingly well. Since a flat spin has a relatively low descent rate, the impact was much less destructive than a high-speed crash. But one specific part kept taking the damage, the nose. Fortunately, the NX2 was designed to be modular, so instead of rebuilding the entire aircraft, I only had to replace the front section. And for the new nose, I wanted to try something stronger. Until now, I had been printing the whole aircraft in lightweight PLA to keep it as light as possible. Lightweight PLA is a foaming filament, which is great for reducing weight, but the trade-off is that when it hits the ground hard, it can break very aggressively. So the idea was to print the new nose using my new Formlabs Form 4L with an incredible material, tough TAF 2000 resin. It is a strong and rigid engineering resin designed to behave more like an engineering plastic with much better toughness and impact resistance than the lightweight PLA nose I was using before. So I went back to Onshape, made a few small changes to reinforce the part, and ran a quick analysis to check that the new nose could handle typical landing loads. Onshape has been essential for quickly iterating the NX2, so if you want to try for your own project, check the link in the description. With the design ready, I imported the new nose into Preform, chose the orientation, generated the supports, and sent it to the Form 4L. After printing, the part went through the standard resin workflow, washing to remove uncured resin and post-curing to reach its final mechanical properties. And the result was honestly impressive. The surface finish was incredibly clean, the details came out sharp, and the new TAF 2000 nose felt much stronger than the previous lightweight PLA version. So a big thanks to Formlabs for making amazing parts like this possible and for opening the door to even more ambitious future projects. With the NX2 repaired and back in one piece, I could finally return to the field and finish the flight testing campaign. I ended up collecting several hours of flight data, but to summarize the results, I basically tested two motors from opposite sides of the thrust bench results. First, the Ready to Sky, which was my original motor and one of the weakest expected performers from the bench testing. And second, the T motor, which came out as the winner in terms of efficiency. For the propellers, I tested four representative options: the APC and Aeronaut 10x4.5, as well as the 9x7 and 9x5 options. The 10x4.5 propellers were the most efficient on the thrust bench, but I also tested the 9-inch options because in my cruise speed calculations at 12 meters per second, reducing diameter and increasing pitch clearly showed some potential advantages. To process all this data, I created a Python script that automatically goes through the flight logs and extracts the useful part of each loiter segment. And this is the kind of curve I obtained with my original setup. On the x-axis, we have different speeds from the autonomous mission, and on the y-axis, the energy the aircraft needs to cover 1 kilometer. And as expected, the NX2 has a clear drag sweet spot. Fly too fast and parasitic drag increases, fly too slow and induced drag takes over. When I plotted all the results together, things became a little bit messy, but one configuration clearly stood out: the NX2 with the T motor and the 9x7 propeller. This setup consistently gave the lowest energy consumption, reaching around 0.32 Wh per kilometer at the best speed point. Compared to the original setup, which was closer to 0.47, that is a massive improvement, around 32% less energy per kilometer. Or looking at it the other way around, the NX2 could theoretically fly about 47% farther with the same battery. So, can the NX2 really fly 200 kilometers? Using a typical 3S lithium-ion pack with 39 Wh of energy, the theoretical range would be around 120 kilometers. However, there is one important detail. During all my flights, I had the DJI O4 Pro on board. This camera is quite power demanding, with a minimum consumption of around 7 watts, which represent about 0.16 Wh per kilometer. So, if we redo the math without the O4 Pro, the theoretical consumption could drop dramatically, pushing the NX2 well beyond the 200 kilometers range. So, the conclusion is clear: the AI was right. In fact, we still haven't found the true limit of the NX2, so if you would like me to build a fully endurance-focused version and actually attempt the challenge, let me know in the comments. If you want to download the NX2 and help me find its maximum endurance, you can find the link in the description. And if you like what I do and want to support my work, please consider joining my Patreon. And as always, stay curious, stay creative, and keep building the future. See you in the next one.